Well, friends, I'm back in the building for a moment here just to check on things. But yeah, one of the things I'm doing is I'm going to compost all the plants today because they basically have all dried right out. Might as well put their nutrients back into soil for next year. Again, 2020 has been a strange year. And you know what else is strange? Today we're going to get to the end of the digestive system. Got that right. All right. Hey now. Mr. Kovacs class. It's Mr. Kovacs class. You might learn a ton. It's Mr. Kovacs class.
It's interesting too.
It's Mr. Kovacs class.
And he's super cool.
It's Mr. Kovacs class. Well, friends, today as we get to the literal end of the digestive system, right? Remember, you shove big pieces of food in your food hole, your face hole, and then the first part of this system's job is to digest, which literally just means to break into smaller pieces. It starts in the mouth, chemically and physically or mechanically, teeth and smushing and crunching, and then it gets pushed to the stomach, more chemical and more physical or mechanical digestion. And then it gets to the small intestine where pancreatic juice girl and the incredible bile. Anyway, they finish up the job. And then after the duodenum, the first foot of the small intestine, which by the way, should be called the skinny intestine, FYI. Then it moves into the remaining 20 feet of the small intestine where absorption happens. Absorption is where you take the little molecules of food and you put them into the villus and then into the bloodstream so that little red can deliver them to where they need to be. When we get to the end of the small intestine, you're in the large intestine, which again is silly because it's shorter, but it's wider. So we should call it the wide intestine. Anyway, food still has ways to go. And in fact, it's really slow through the large intestine. And the number one thing that happens in the large intestine is reabsorption of water. Water recovery. It's like a water recovery system. And then at the end, whatever's left over, you get rid of. Where do we go from here? So a quick recap. All right, food went into the mouth where Captain Amylase started working on the carbohydrates, started breaking them into simple sugars. Then peristalsis squeezed the food, which we would call like a bolus, into the stomach, where now pepsin man, when activated by hydrochloric acid, started breaking down the proteins into amino acids. Then it got squirted into the duodenum of the small intestine, where the combination of pancreatic juice and bile first neutralize the acid, so pepsin stops working, and then these guys do their own job. Bile breaks apart the lipids, and then pancreatic juice girl, she's awesome, finishes the job of carbs, proteins, and lipids. I mean, she breaks everything down to the final pieces, and they do that all within the first foot of the small intestine, right? They do that, so in and then down, and then in the stomach, and then the first foot of the small intestine, and then digestion is done. Digestion is done, right? In the mouth, we have chemical digestion with enzymes, right? All the way through, and then by the time you get through the first foot of the small intestine, digestion is done. What happens next? Absorption, right? You got to pick up you've got to take all those little pieces and get them into your blood, so that little red, hey everybody, can deliver them to where they need to go. And then when you're done absorbing the pieces, you've got this liquidy soup of leftovers. Now it's on to the large intestine, also known as the colon. And there is the large intestine. Small intestine dumps its liquidy chyme into the cecum of the large intestine. This is where your appendix is located. By the way, appendices do have a function. Most animals, their job is to ferment cellulose. So like really the more vegetarian you are, the more important the job of not even vegetarian, the more you eat like things like leaves, you know, things that are really fibrous, you would need an appendix. So yeah, we call appendix a leftover because, to be honest, you can operate just fine without it. Then in the cecum, this material gets pushed through peristalsis all the way through the large intestine to the final storage place, the rectum. All right, peristalsis is the squeezing. It's super slow. I mean, it is so slow. I believe it takes something like upwards of 6 to 10 hours to just squeeze through. You're about 6 or 8 feet of colon. That's slow. Of course, what's happening during this time? Water is being absorbed. Water is being absorbed as the food gets pushed, well, the leftovers get pushed through the large intestine. And as water is being absorbed, all the leftovers get more and more condensed and condensed. We call that feces. And then finally, the feces get to the end of the colon and are stored into the rectum. And the rectum will stretch and stretch and stretch until it's so full of feces that you get the signal to your brain saying it is time to go number 2. Well, hot dog, here's something you may not know. Hey, fun fact. Sometimes when you eat, you swallow air as you swallow food. And that air, these air bubbles get trapped in your small and get pushed through your small and large intestine. And sometimes they get trapped behind a big plug of feces. If they squeeze by, well, whoever supplied it denied it. Well, that was interesting. You know, it's hard to think about colon health, right? But colon health basically, right, is you got all this food moving very slowly through your colon. One thing that's really good to do is to have a lot of fiber in your diet, because fiber will actually, you can't digest it, but it keeps things moving through your colon pretty well. And it also winds up actually scraping the walls of the colon, which you say, well, why would you want to do that? But it helps maintain the colon. The colon the cells there grow very slowly. So scraping the walls encourages them to grow more rapidly. Now, how do you check your colon health? That's easy. Yeah, go look at it. Yes, that's right. You can imagine where they've stuck this machine. But yeah, this is called a colonoscopy. A colonoscopy is what people have in order to check the health of their colon. Usually, they recommend, everybody who reaches a certain age gets one every few years. And the purpose of colonoscopy is to look for cancer, signs of cancer. Colon cancer is a really slow-growing cancer, very easy to treat, but also doesn't have many symptoms. So you wouldn't notice you have it, and you worried if you get to the stage 4 of this colon cancer that some of those cancer cells, we'll talk about cancer later, but have moved on to other places, and that's when it's bad news. And so what they do in a colonoscopy is they just look to see for, they call them polyps, precancerous polyps, and if they see one, they just snip it right then and there, and you're good, groovy. Yeah, they just snip it right off. Yep, that's what they do. All right, so if you know anybody who's, you can imagine people are a little bit reluctant to go get a colonoscopy because of where they have to put the machine. But it's really important if you know somebody who is of a certain age, usually over the age of 50, ask them if they've had a colonoscopy so you can check on their colon. You want to keep them around for a while. All right, folks, where do we go from here? I think that'll be a good theme for tomorrow. Where does it go? Stay tuned to this channel.